Hello, everyone. I'm Joshua Wilson with America's Warrior Partnership. I'm the corporate relationship manager here with Sheena Parker, and we're doing an interview to hear all about her life, and her service and her business. So it's an honor to have her, and we'll start with the very first question, which is tell us about your military experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So my military experience started in right after 9/11, and I was actually in college. I was in my first year of college, and then, of course, 9/11 happened like day two of college. And so I had no concept of military service. Nobody in my family that I knew of was in the military. And I was just working and going to college. And then all of a sudden, the recruiter saw me. I actually lost one of my jobs. Funny. And my mom was like, "You need to go to the unemployment office so you can get money for," in my mind, I'm like, "Okay, you go to unemployment office, you get money." And I went to the unemployment office, and that's when I met a recruiter. And I was trying to get on the elevator, and the elevator was broken. And so here comes the recruiter. And he starts talking to me, and I'm like, la, 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 la. And eventually I just started listening. And so, with that, not knowing what military service was, I didn't think about it being right after 9/11. So this is 2002. And so I just joined, had no idea what I was doing, active duty and in IT, which is Signal. And I just was like, I guess I was saying YOLO before YOLO was YOLO. I just went ahead and joined. And, of course, it's definitely a great experience, especially coming from the city that I came from, which is Brockton, Massachusetts, which most people have never heard of. There was really nothing that I could see myself doing after that, hindsight. So went in active duty, got out, thought I was going to be a military spouse. That didn't work out. So I got back in, and then got back into the reserves, and I hated it. So I got out again. So I actually got out twice. And then I had a really good sergeant major that's kind of like whatever strings they pulled that got me back into the reserves, and I was active reserve. So I was pretty much active duty from 2008 until 2019, off and on. Deployed twice, but I also went to Korea before when I was on active duty, and in a partridge in a pear tree. And I just retired February 2022. So yes, even though I got out twice, I made it to the 20 years. So it was really, really rewarding to be able to say that I retired, especially as much as a rebel I am. I can't believe I actually made it through.
Yeah, no, that is really, really something. 20 years. So the next one is tell me a little bit about your business. What's working for it right now? Like what's successful in your business?
Okay, well, my company is Foresight Industries, and we provide facility maintenance services to the federal government, local government, and corporate agencies. So what that is really is janitorial, floor repair, grounds maintenance, welding. So a lot of specialty skills, and really anything that's under light construction is what we provide. And I kind of started out doing real estate long before the company came into existence. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this real estate stuff, and it's going to be beautiful. I'm going to be rich. And of course, it didn't quite work out that way. So my husband bought me my first condo, and it was an absolute disaster. Like everything you can learn bad about real estate, I learned in that first condo. So I was like, I don't know if I like this. So I ended up getting a couple more properties, and then I started wholesaling. So I was a landlord and a wholesaler at the same time. And I was like, this sucks. I'm done. Let me go. With all these houses, tenants are crazy. I hate this. I'm done. So I sold all my houses, and I was like, I'm just gonna chill. If anyone says the word real estate to me, I'm gonna snap. I'm gonna slap them. And so then I was like, well, the real estate bug was just kind of lingering. And I had some friends who were in real estate, and they're like, hey, why don't you, I was asking really, why don't I go into being an agent? And I swear every one of them were like, that's not really your personality. And I'm like, what do you mean? But then I actually listened. And so then the conversation about government contracting kept coming up, like just in random conversations, how the phone, I swear that's when the phone started listening for the first time, because then random stuff would come up on my phone about government contracting. And this is probably 2014. And so, well, excuse me, 2015. And so, I really didn't know what that meant. I'm like, what is government contracting? I don't even understand the words you're saying to me. And so I started doing a little research, and there really wasn't a lot of information out back then. But then when I started thinking about, oh, I can do this, whatever this is, but I kind of want to stay in the real estate realm, let me figure out how to do that on the government contracting side. And that equaled to, facility maintenance, because I was doing like renovations to the properties with my contractor and stuff like that. So it just kind of went to that. And so that being said, like what does that actually look like for my first contract? And it ended up being my first one that I bid on was flooring. And so that one went terribly wrong, and I ended up having to cancel that contract. But then my second one was also flooring. So I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna be a flooring contractor. Easy breezy. And it was a six-figure contract, essentially my very first contract. So I'm like, this is a breeze. Like, I love this. I can do this forever. And so it just, as I grew, I realized what I was actually doing was like facility management, facility maintenance. And there's a lot of things that go under that. So it's kind of hard to just kind of pinpoint what it was. And then it graduated into janitorial. And of course, I really started the company, like I did my first bid in 2018 and performed in 2019. And then when 2020 came along, of course, janitorial just like took over. It took over the whole business. It ended up being like 80% of what we were doing, reluctantly. But what worked well was I just always have been present. I'm not a person that likes to stay glued to my phone, but I know how I am when it comes to me for getting service. When I want a service, I want communication. Like this whole ghosting generation and stuff, that really, really burns me up, because one thing that I realized some of these agencies weren't getting was communication. All they want is someone to say, yes, we'll handle it at a fair price. Here you go, a good quality product. And that's it. Product meaning service. And I'm like, that's really all they want? I'm like, what? Just to provide a good service? Okay, I can do that. And so we just kind of ran with that. And, as I was growing, I have employees. Now I have about 20 employees and about 11 contractors. And then, when I have stuff that I sub out, I sub out. When I have stuff that has to be in-house with employees, I hire employees. I mean, it's easy, but it's not easy. And then along the way, there were just so many people who were inspired by what I do. And I did a couple of YouTube videos here and there. And then I developed my course, and I just finally launched my course this week. So it's called GovCon for Winners, and it's to teach people how to do federal, local, and corporate contracting, being 3-tier contractors.
Oh yeah. No, I love it. So you found something that is helping you be really successful, and then you're also giving back, which is super important. Frankly, that's really important to me. And it sounds like, I'm guessing one of the key things you do, you lead a lot of employees. How does that work? I'm just curious, how does your employee system work?
Well, that's actually a good question, because I was a warrant officer, so I was like the strong E6. Like, I'm gonna be a sergeant major. I don't care what anybody says. I'm about to lead the whole army. Like, I was one of those crazy, like, because after I got out twice, and I was kind of a knucklehead a little bit, here and there, but people saw the good in me. So then, of course, I grew into a really good NCO, and so with that, I was like, I'm about to light this thing on fire. And then I went warrant, and I'm like, yeah, and then I got out, and I was like, this is not the same. This is absolutely nowhere near the same as leading soldiers. I don't know if it's because I'm actually the one paying them. I don't know. It's not the generation, because a lot of my employees are older. A lot of them are older than me, actually. And so it's just a different level of management. So I realized I have to have people in between, not with all, but for a lot of my contracts, like I have a manager that's either on site or I have a program manager who kind of is a puppet master. I have an HR person, because one thing I realized is I hate HR with everything in my spirit. Like, I hate it with a passion, and I realized that. And so I'm like, okay, in the military, you're not doing everything, but they really expect you to do most of everything, and you have to just execute. But I'm like, I don't want to do that no more. And then I'm not necessarily getting paid for it, so to speak. So I need to outsource that. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. So it's really different than managing on the military side, which I was really shocked by. I was kind of hurt, because I'm like, I thought I was a good manager, but it's a different different plane, I guess.
Yeah, no, one of the coolest things I've probably heard and never even thought about was that military leaders are uniquely fit at shaping any person to be a good person. Like you don't pick the people, you get under you, and then you get the person, and then you help lead every part of their life as a life coach and as, as a mentor on the specific job. Yeah, and in the civilian world, everything's up for negotiation. People could quit, people can leave, people can freak out, people can sue you, and vice versa. Like, so there's so much more ambiguity, and there's definitely a lot more stress. So I get that.
Oh yeah, and like there's already a certain personality type. Whether you join the military and you decide that this does not work for me, there's something that's common. There's a commonality there still because you raised your own hand. No one forced you. So you raised your own hand to join the military. So there's still something there that's more moldable than the people that's out here in this economy. It's a totally different feel. And there's some people that have military-esque, essence. But for the majority, especially, I have mostly labor employees. And that's, I've always been a laborer. I had 37 jobs throughout my life. So I've always had both. I've had corporate, I've had labor. So I get it, but it's just another layer of people who are just a lot more different to work with. You know what I mean?
I definitely do. What are the big challenges that you see on the horizon? Like how do you want to tackle
Well, definitely. When it comes to the contracting, it not even just me, but some of my other comrades that are in the government contracting space, they've had challenges with trying to get their contracts adjusted based on inflation. Essentially, a lot of us had two labor increases in 1 year. So there's no way you can prepare for that. You're supposed to prepare for, increase. Really, we haven't had increase in years. So you have two in 1 year. There's really no way to prepare for that. And then inflation, it's really hard to talk to these contracting officers and say, hey, we need to increase. Like it's really different. A lot of them, like I have mostly local contracts and I have a couple of federal. So federal is, a little more tricky because the money is heavily regulated. So, you have to basically give your firstborn, give a blood sample, give everything just to say, hey, there's been labor increases and inflation, as if you didn't already know that. So now I have to provide proof as to what the difference in price was when everyone knows what's going on. So that has been, it hasn't been my biggest challenge, but it has been aggravating. It's annoying, let's say that. And then, some of the things that we're going to have to just prepare for in the future, I guess, is just more of that, more of increasing. And the challenging thing, I love government contracting because it's very black and white. I don't have to worry about chasing nobody down for my money. They pay slow, but I don't have to there's almost no chance that you won't get paid for the most part. There's very few counties and states that just absolutely will not pay you. But the thing that I don't like is, you really have to provide so much proof and then you get outbid and, you're adding your price for inflation and increases, but then you'll get outbid by someone else that's just lower and don't care. So that's a big challenge of government contracting. For example, we were servicing about 3 contracts in early 2020. And it was okay. I mean, I wasn't making a living, but we were servicing 3, so it was great. And then for 9 months, we were bidding and didn't win anything in 2020. Nothing, zero. Boop. And then 2021, January, we won 6 in 1 week. So there's really no way to gauge, these were all from 2020. So, it's not like you're going to say, let me make sure I stagger these bids. There's no way to know what's coming, and then you have to be super agile. And I would say if there's one thing, not just the leadership or management that the military taught me, is really it taught me how to be agile, because I'm like, okay, is someone going to beat me up? I learned this in one of the IBMF courses. Is someone going to beat me up, or am I going to die? And that's really, sometimes when you get to that point where you're stressed, you really have to ask yourself those 2 questions. Is someone literally going to beat me up, or am I going to die if any of this stuff happens? If not, okay, everything else can be worked out. Pretty much.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's a cool way to look at it.
Some of those things get triggered when you can't pay people, and people talk to you crazy when they don't know it's not your fault. They just look at the owner as, you got all this money, give me my money, and they don't know that the owner's over here suffering, barely being able to pay their bills just the same way as you, you know?
Yeah, no, and you're not the first entrepreneur to tell me like behind the scenes, there's just been some almost devastating, super broke, debt riddled, what is happening
Super,
moments.
look, kids college fund gone, eliminated.
Yeah.
Three, not me personally, thank goodness I haven't gotten there, but like, three mortgages out on your house, and the people don't even know. But you know that payroll is the most important for me. And I've heard this multiple times. Payroll is the most important thing. I don't care if I don't get paid. I don't care if my contractors don't get paid. My payroll, paycheck to paycheck employees will get paid. If I got to donate plasma, I am going to make sure my employees get paid, period.
This is really the last question at this point. Just are there any resources that you specifically really love or like you think other entrepreneurs should know about?
Oh, definitely. I'm a program junkie, and I had to really sit down the other day and ask myself, like, well, why do I do all these programs? And before I say what the programs are, I'll say why I do programs. And it's really for me to, one, get the latest and greatest of information that's out there, to network with people who are in the same mindset as me. I met some of my best friends, and I don't really have friends like that. My best friends in some of these programs that I participated in, and the resources that are within the resource. So, sometimes you never know, especially with IVMF, for example, you might get a free website, pro bono, because you're a part of the program, or, your free LinkedIn premium account and stuff like that. So IVMF, hands down, I am IVMF shorty. I will rock with IVMF all day, every day. That's all the programs within them. I've done a few of them, not all of them, but I love IVMF. That's top top tier. As far as government contracting, VIP is a program that I have participated in. That's Veterans Institute for Procurement, and it's a part of I believe it's the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. I may be saying it wrong, but I know it's in Maryland, is like the Chamber of Commerce. But if a veteran was interested in what's it called, contracting, government contracting, VIP is absolutely a phenomenal program. What's funny, real quick on that, is when you sign up for it, they ask you if you've won any federal contracts. And so when I signed up, I had one like only local. And so I just said, yep. And so they were like, okay, federal. And so I wanted to do the VIP grow and not the VIP start. And so because I hadn't won any federal, they put me in the VIP start. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a waste of time. I'm going to know everything that they're saying, and I'm going to be mad. And I went there, and it was great. Like, there were people that were speaking to us that said they don't even take contracts that are less than $1 million. And so I was like, oh, I'm either in the right room or the wrong room, because this is way deeper than I thought it was going to be. And it just like, it pretty much pivoted everything that I thought. And it was super, like I like boot camps and stuff like that. So that was just tremendous. Another one is Bunker Labs. Bunker Labs, they're not all created equal. And I will say that there's people that joined Bunker Labs after I did. I went through the 2021 cohort, and they are like doing it now, and it's not the same. So, I would just say, if you can join Bunker Labs, and make the most out of it that you possibly can, because it's about the relationships and stuff like that. Also Goldman Sachs program. I don't think you can get into Goldman Sachs unless you've been in your business for a while. And I think you have to have a minimum of like 75K a year or something like that. But it's a tremendous program. I mean, just absolutely groundbreaking. It changed everything for me. And the last one, told you I'm a program junkie. I'm actually in the SBA Thrive program. I probably should have did a Thrive program before the Goldman Sachs, because the Thrive program is a little bit, it's almost like a repetitive thing, but the thing I do like about it is that it's local, and we do meetups in person. So that's a really good one, though, for someone who's looking to kind of scale, like maybe they're at a plateau or they don't really know how to scale. That's a really good program as well. And that's not, the Goldman Sachs and the Thrive are not veteran specific, but they're good for business owners.
Let me just say that I appreciate your time and expertise. It's really inspiring to hear what you've done. And it just kind of reminds me that we can continue to find really interesting mentors and leaders even outside of military service. So I would encourage anybody who is watching these, please reach out to our entrepreneurs and veterans. You know, they enjoy leading and like to hear from you and hear what you're up to.